If you've been planning to join Procrastinators Anonymous tomorrow, this one's probably for you. So let's be honest, we're all procrastinators over here, especially those of us with ADHD. I can't tell you the number of conversations I've had with people who've been like, I don't get it. I know I shouldn't wait till the last second. And yet. So let's be honest, when we procrastinate, and some of this comes back to the beauty of our ADHD brains, this idea that we don't necessarily produce and regulate dopamine as well as a neurotypical brain. So when we procrastinate and then we get our job done right on time, we actually end up getting a bigger dopamine boost for completing that project. So our brains have learned that procrastination equals a larger reward. Doesn't seem like it makes any sense. And yet that is literally what your brain has learned. It has learned that I will stress myself out up to the moment it's due, and then I will get it done and I will get this huge surge of dopamine. And so your brain has literally learned, whether you wanted it to or not, that procrastination is cool. And I'm gonna be honest, you're probably never gonna stop procrastinating entirely. I don't think any of us are gonna pull that one off, but there's a lot of things we can do that will help, especially in areas that we know we should not be procrastinating in. So the first one is kind of obvious here. Find ways to boost your reward for finishing the task. Get yourself a bigger dopamine reward for finishing it earlier. If you know that part of the issue is, I get a bigger boost when I finish the task right on time versus I get a bigger boost when I finish it now, find a way to boost the dopamine reward for getting it done now, whether that is allowing yourself to go do something that you weren't going to let yourself do because you needed to get this project done, or you give yourself a cookie. I know that we're basically just animals training ourselves with biscuits, right? So for me, this is stuff I will oftentimes tell myself, hey, you know what, if I can get this project done a little bit early, if I had blocked an hour to work on this and I can get it done in 40 minutes, instead of just moving on to the next project, because where's the fun in that, I will actually let myself go and read or write or play the violin or do something that's going to give me a little bit of a dopamine boost there. Number 2, reduce the number of things you're working on. I know that one's thanks, Steph, super obvious, no can do. Sometimes we aren't able to, but a lot of times we actually can start to pull the number of things that's on our plate off. I have found, for me at least, I oftentimes put stuff on my plate because it's something that I wanted to get done, or I feel like I need to get done, or insert whatever excuse I've given myself, but I oftentimes have a lot of stuff on my plate that doesn't actually need to be done, and so sometimes it's helpful to just start reducing the number of things that I'm responsible for. Now this can look like me telling myself no, but this can also look like me telling other people no. When they ask me for something, they ask me to participate in a project or knock out something for them, they ask me for information, they ask me for whatever. A lot of times it just comes down to me being willing to say no and recognize that nothing bad happens, and I'm allowed to say no. As much as we're kind of trained not to, I am allowed to say no. That's okay. And if I want to get everything done when I need to, I'm gonna have to start saying no to some things. This one sounds like it's not all that feasible, but honestly, it's a lot more feasible than most people give it credit for. Number 3, time block it onto your calendar. So actually go to your calendar and block off a chunk of time to work on this. Now, I will tell you, sometimes it's really helpful for me to go in and block off a 2 to 3 to 4 hour chunk to work on something. Sometimes that's not helpful because what I found is I will just whittle away at that and I'll add a little 15-minute thing. So now it's 3 hours and 45 minutes instead of 4 hours, and then another 30, so it's now 30-minute. So I found it's not super helpful for me to go block huge chunks of time, but I will go block just a half hour or 20 minutes or 15 minutes to get started on a project so that I can get the ball rolling. And then I do make sure that I have time blocked on my calendar to get everything else knocked out in the time frame that it needs to be knocked out. Next up, the do nothing method. So the do nothing method was brought to us by Raymond Chandler, who is a very well-known crime author. And what he would do is he had a number of words that he had to hit every single day. And so he would tell himself, I am going to either write for 4 hours or do nothing for 4 hours. Literally sit at my desk and stare at my computer. I'm not allowed to go to social media. I'm not allowed to get up and go do anything. I will either write or I will do nothing. And sometimes sitting yourself down and saying, okay, I will either spend 30 minutes doing nothing or doing this project that I'm supposed to get knocked out can be incredibly helpful, because our brains tend to panic a little bit over doing nothing. So that idea of just sitting there, I'm getting a little bit choked up even at the idea of just sitting there for 4 hours doing literally nothing but staring out the window. I definitely would start getting stuff done at that point. So extra tool in your tool belt to try and get things done before they are due. Next up, I'm a big fan of using Goblin Dot tools. I've often found if I'm procrastinating on a project, a lot of times it's because I don't know where to start, but I feel like I should, so I haven't necessarily identified that I don't know where to start and I haven't broken it down. Or maybe I just literally need to project plan it out so that I have a to-do list to follow, so I'm following instructions instead of trying to be creative and figure out what exactly I need to do. Goblin Dot Tools is a phenomenal tool to put in a task or project, and then it will break it down, and you can have it broken down into super minute like levels, or you can have it just be a little bit broader, a little bit overall. But using something to break it down into small steps can make it a lot easier, especially if you're going to block time for only 15 minutes to work on something, instead of feeling like, oh my God, 15 minutes isn't enough time to get anything done. Well, 15 minutes is enough time to project plan, or to take one small task and knock that out so that you can, again, start to build momentum on getting that project done long before it's due. Number 6, adjust your environment. So go around, like look at your desk, and everything that is causing distractions for you, take it off, or go to somewhere that doesn't have those distractions. Take away the distractions and build focus. Maybe you need to do what I do and get glasses so that you have like blinders. Maybe you need to get a ball cap. Maybe you need to build yourself a pillow fort so that you are sitting your butt down inside of something that does not have any distractions, and all you can do is work on the project at hand. Like I said, you're probably not going to get to the point where you're never procrastinating again, but you can get to the point where you're not procrastinating all the time. You can start getting some things done in advance, and this is one of those momentum builds moments. The more you start to get things done in advance, the more of them you will get done in advance, the less you'll procrastinate, and the more you will train your brain that you don't have to procrastinate in order to get the dopamine reward.